Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm back again. Um, hmm, there's a new thing with Twitch, and I have like a couple of readjustments I have to do for some other things, but that's okay. I'm back. It's been a hot minute. It's just been some things going on in my life, so I had to take a bit of a break, but I'm back, and because I left mid-story, I'm going to kind of do a quick catch up on where I left off with the previous, like with the story, because I kind of just need to refresh myself. So I'm gonna do that, and then the rest of the week I will be trying to get as much finished as I can because my goal for this week is to have is to have basically a list of scenes that I need to rewrite that I need to write for this book. Um, so let me just take a look and see where I was. Hold on. No, I should have had this all ready to go first, but like I said, I'm a little bit rusty. So I do know that I got as far as chapter 10. I got as far as chapter 10, which for some reason I only have chapter up to chapter 2 here. Not here. I have like all of it. I just okay. Hmm. Wait. Okay. All the chapters in here are random. That's perfectly fine. This is okay. Okay. Uh, uh, chapter 3 to chapter 10. Okay. Here we go. Not quite here we go. What I do is pull out the okay. So this starts off with a group of people riding with the new Baron arriving in the barony. He has just been appointed the new barony, taking over for a previous baron who had tried to overthrow the king. And this new baron had fought with the king and and saved the king's life by losing and lost his hand in the process. Um, for as a reward for his bravery and his courage, he was granted this barony. So it opens on him arriving in the barony and getting to meet everybody. Let's see here. Oh yeah, right off the hop. Oh, and uh, in the procession, there is obviously Gwalsor. He is the main character. He is the new baron, and it wouldn't be Gwalsor without his man at arms. That would be Malkuthop. He is okay. So the way I imagine him is Jason Momoa, like that. That's the first person I picture when I think of him. This big hulking guy. Basically he's a reindeer rider, so he rides a reindeer. Part of a reindeer and herder group. So he has a reindeer with him when they come to the barony. Um, and he's Gwalsor's trusted man at arms. He is introduced, as well as Foraith and Olaf. He is also introduced. Foraith is interesting because he is an acting captain of the guard. He is not a noble. He is just the last person standing who was able to take the role. Everybody else was either below him or removed. So makes it very awkward for him as well. Um, Very shortly after his arrival, there is an assassination attempt. Um, like first there's an assassination attempt, then later on that, as he's being shown to his quarters, Malgathep goes ahead and just makes sure everything's okay, um, and lets him know. Wait a minute, no, this room is cursed. You cannot stay here. Before he even enters, he's told he cannot stay there. The room is cursed, and that's where we find out that Malgathep actually can smell magic. So he can smell magic essence or traces of magic wherever magic's been used or placed, or if something is. He can detect magic, but he detects magic through a sense of smell. So that's pretty cool. Doo, doo, doo. Yeah, he is. So Melgathep, he is known. He is known. His group of people are called the Lafetta. They're the reindeer riders. I also like to think that they are modeled after the Aboriginal reindeer riders. So there's a bunch of different groups throughout the northern hemisphere, and most of them are in, I want to say, in Russia, the former Soviet Union. That's probably a better way because there's Siberia and everything like that. They run from Siberia through to Russia, through, and they also are part. They also, I think, there's some Scandinavian versions of them as well. Don't quote me on that. I'm only a little bit. Um, I've been only able to get like little bits and pieces of the history. I want to do more, obviously, but I don't want to. I could fall down a rabbit hole with the research because it's really really interesting. Um, but I like to think he's modeled after them. While Sora himself is an interesting person. He is a baron, but he lost his hand, so he no longer has a hand. Most of the times he has a hook, but not all the time. Right, well, right now he just has a hook. Um, as before, so oh, wow, I'm jumping around now. This is what happens when you don't just simply read the story. And I'm still in chapter one. Um, in the crowd, a small boy says, "Ah, but he's a cripple because he only has one hand," and everyone's gasping, drawing back, not appropriate, not okay, and his mom freaks out. Now, the kid who says this, his name is Jadal. His mother's name is Brennan, and there's the thing. There's a reason why this is the worst thing that could possibly happen is because Jadal is the son of of the former of the former baron. Hold on. Sorry, nephew of the former baron. Heir, and he is the heir apparent. He insults the new baron and becomes the new baron's squire. Um, there is some consternation about that because Brennan, Jadal's mother, and therefore mother-in-law or sister-in-law of the uh, of the former baron, who would have had also a place in the barony. She's just like, no, you cannot say this, and now your life is forfeit, basically, because that's how severe these things were back in the day. it was really, really a big deal to any rate, bear with me here. I am trying to like I'm trying to do 2 million things at once, so bear with me here, guys. I would love to try and nope, that's not gonna work. Sorry, guys. I am doing my best here. I will get back to you. I see you. I see your message. Um, Trying to juggle many things. It's a one-person production here, so bear with me. Uh, at any rate, what else to say? So much stuff. That's literally only chapter one. Still only chapter one. Yeah. So Brennan, mother of Jadal, has come to terms with the new Baron and Jadal's trespass slash disrespect. So basically, right after that, Gualsor says, "Hey, look, um, you know what? You can be my squire." And 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 Brennan, Jadal's mom, is freaking right out because like this could mean certain death. That squire is placed in danger. Like they're in a place of danger, and given that, I mean, she could be he could be killed at any time. So it's just like that's the worst thing it could for it to happen to him. But Gualsor assures her that no, it's okay. I'm not here to like you know to like kill your son or anything like that. This is just the way it's just I just need somebody here. And here I am. We're gonna have okay, that was a problem. Sorry, there's like feedback because I was trying to like get into Twitch. My apologies. Like I said, I'm trying to do like multiple stuff and things change because I used to be able to like pop into Twitch without actually accidentally entering into the stream, therefore crossing the streams. Uh anyway, bear with me here. The goal is to not accidentally start my have two things going on. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do here. Hopefully. Yeah, one would think that I'd be able to have like moderate myself and also go. Who knows? I I can't have nice things. Anyway, so let's see here. So now we get on to chapter two. After grudgingly, Brennan says, "Okay, he can be your squire. Just be really, really careful with him. He's the only son I've got, basically." So then, Jadal has his first day as squire, and and Gualsor explains his duties and what he's supposed to do. Um, then all of a sudden, there is a group of gnomes come to the city. I believe, they're migrating, being chased away from something. Um, Court is held. It is very small because everyone's just trying to keep on the Baron's good side. They don't know what's going to go on. They don't know whether it's going to be like mass killings or whatever. Um, uh, basically what happens in the second chapter is kind of get an idea of how everybody is dealing with the with the new baron, and what's the attitude of people in the barony when the baron arrives. Um, there is the introduction of the subjects of Willow's Hole. Two people come and explain that there's been an incident, and that hold on here. I have it written down here. The killing of Oh, sorry, the telling of the taking of Gwillis Hole by Baron Wardick. So they basically say how the how the whole Willis Hole was taken by Wardick, who says that because the stream is running a certain way, that actually like the stream was supposed to be the dividing line between the baronies, and because it changed, now the things have shifted, and therefore that now becomes part of their property. There's always been a little bit of it's a contested area for the most part. So then they're like, okay, well, what do we do? Well, they can't wait until spring, because if they don't act right away, they'll be seen as a sign of weakness. Plus, they'll really get entrenched in there. They'll have like once they become entrenched, it'll be more difficult to get them out. So they they mount an attack. Um, at this time, Gwalsar also places Foraith officially as Marshal of the Barony, which has caused a lot of disruption amongst the nobles, because they feel like it's up to another noble should fill the role. It shouldn't be filled by a mere commoner. Although Gwalsar says, well, you know the barony the best, and you're also dispossessed, like to some extent, because you're not exactly comfortable here. So I can be more assured of your loyalty than somebody else who is more comfortable with with all the people of the barony, and may have like you know more of a bias. So let's see here. There we go. So one of the explanations of one of the people that gets better introduced in the second chapter is Ralno Dar Haravant. He is a steward of the barony. Uh, he has a couple of problems. He's a little bit problematic because he came unarmed, and he allowed the new baron's room to become cursed. So he's kind of in a lot of trouble, because he's supposed to be charged with like looking after the baron, which is one of the reasons why Foraith ends up getting placed in charge of as marshal. Okay, so Ralno presents Gwalsar with the court list, which is short. Gwalsar begins to understand what the people think of him, and begins to discover the danger that he is in. Um, so in chapter 2, they also reflect on Brennan. Um, there's a flashback to her losing most of her family, and her essentially being trapped in the barony with the heir to the barony, unable to be reunited with her father. So there is a certain level of danger for her. Uh, a mysterious blonde man hires a hooded man. Wait, no, hooded man hires a blonde man. Sorry, I'm just like reading my notes for like what I wrote down as a kind of like a quick summary. And that one, these are the characters that show up. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna like forget about that. Uh, Derelict was the lawyer of the late Baron. He's introduced and speaks of laws pertaining to the capture of Gwilla's Hole. Okay. Marquis Dar Irrelevant is introduced, and he is one of the nobles that opposes for its new appointment. And chapter 3. Jadal learns about Malga's place and relationship to Gwalsor. Um, the army begins to make preparations to march on Gwilla's Hole. Pemberland and Gwalsor meet as Gwalsor chooses to take him along to Gwilla's Hole as an advisor. We are introduced to the religious disorder in town. Priest Twanwick expresses the church's opposition to the use of divination. Uh, okay. Gwalsor and Brennan argue about Jadal riding to Gwilla's Hole. The assassin is hired. So, chapter 4, they head out to Gwilla's Hole. There are a group of men from Gwalsor's home that his father sent with him, and they all are part of the march. Malga correctly suspects an ambush. So he has a feeling an ambush happens, and it happens. Gwalsor is attacked by a man with a crossbow, which sets off his PTSD because that's how he lost his hand, was by a person with a crossbow. So he viciously strikes down the man down, and he just keeps on like attacking and attacking in a frenzied rage. Um, they reach Quinqua Quinquadras and make camp on the other side. They come across people beating on a gnome. This is different from like there's a group of gnomes that come into the city, but then they come across this specific gnome who's being beaten by a group of townspeople who were calling him a thief, and it's kind of that's the perception is that all gnomes are thieves and they can't be trusted. They're always nomadic and just 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 one of the worst people of the world, so to speak. Like it's just like a lot of racial hatred against gnomes here. Serious gnome hatred. Gwalsor brings a gnome with him of saving as a way of saving his life. So the name, and we are introduced then to Edek Da, who is the gnome that was being beat on. Um, and from there, they're like, okay, well, come with us. We're going to go to Gwilla's Hole, and then we'll take you to safety. Gwilla's Hole is not safe, but the townsfolk being on Willow is just not safe either. So there you go. Gwalsor asked Pemberland to magically scout for him. So cast a net to see, cast ahead to see if there's any further ambushes or anything like that while they're traveling. Um, Chapter 4, Saltern and Olaf is introduced. He is an old family friend of Gwalsor's. He basically helped raise Gwalsor to adulthood. Malga then took over his training when he became of age. Pemberley was called upon to do some magical tracking. Eddic Da is introduced along with the gnome race of this world. Chapter 5. Pemberland reports back his findings to Gwalsor. He is able to describe how things are arranged in Warwick's camp. Gwalsor calls a council. Some of the nobles are skeptical about taking a wizard at his word. A lesser knight complains. Gwalsor alludes to his past attitude, which ends him in losing his hand. An archer led them through winding trails. Gwalsor leaves Gwaltic in charge of a detachment, hinting at the politics of Foraith's new position, not noble. Foraith compares the old baron to the new one. There is a battle. Uh, wow. There's a battle at the palisade. During the battle, Gwalsor suffers an assassination attempt? Question mark. They aren't sure, and they don't really. He doesn't really expand on that, although he cannot confirm it. So it sounds like he was almost like set up to be attacked in a certain way during the battle, but he can't confirm that. He has no way of being able to tell. Um, they take the palisade and begin work to complete it, so that they can build it up so that it can't be torn down. But this time, they're in charge of it. uh, Pemberlin shows his scouting ability, and people show their mistrust of him because scouting is a form of divination, and therefore some people frown on divination. Walser has to show his leadership as he fights just trust and physically fights. Uh, Malgathop is referred to in Chapter 5, but doesn't actually appear. Uh, Foraith has to deal with politics again as he isn't able to manage a detachment due to lack of respect from his underlings. This seems kind of disrespectful of Gwalsor. Should he really be in charge at all? Yeah, and so that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, Foraith is feeling like disrespected because he's not put in charge of the palisade. But at the same time, there's just too much distrust of Foraith because he's not a noble born. Therefore, what can he possibly know? It's a whole thing. Um, Markian Dar Irrelevant distrusts the wizard and is loud about it. Gweltic Dar Haranis is left in charge of the detachment. Now we've gone to chapter 6. Saltern Han Oelath dies. So I mean, and it's really unfortunate. He dies of battle of wounds he suffered in battle, but he got struck pretty hard. I feel it kind of reminds me of a Boromir kind of death. Not that he betrayed Gwalsor, but he just got like he dies fairly early on in the story, relatively. Um, and in the original story, like in this story, there's not much. There's not much brought. He's not even brought up until chapter 4, which is kind of unfortunate because you don't really get a chance to do a lot of bonding with him. So that's one of the things I need to bring up in the story is I need to have more focus on Saltern and possibly even Malgathop. The two of them would have known each other really well because they both helped to raise him. So there needs to be more focus on how they interact, as well as how Walser interacts with Saltern, because he mourns him for a brief time, saying, "Oh, that he saw me as a lad and everything like that," but then he doesn't really go much into that. So that's what I have to change in the story. Like I said, I have to do a lot of groundwork has to be laid here. Um, okay, the relationship between Squire and his master grows, so you see more interplay between them, more of them chit chatting, like a friend, a real camaraderie develops between the two. Uh, Malga goes snoops around to hear what people are saying when Gwalsor is not around. This is more hinted at and not actually overtly stated, and I would like to have that shown rather than talked about around, like talked around about, as it's referred to. Um, it's like in one little sentence, it's not really. And so I'd actually like to see that actually happen. So that's another scene that needs to be added in. Um, Gualsor essentially describes, in a boiled down fashion, the politics of the barony as it currently stands. Malga gives a report on the current pulse of the barony and how people are dealing with this, the changes and the effects of the march on Gwilla's Hole. Tostig and Manik are introduced, the leaders of the bandit camp, which is a different one from Gwilla's Hole. The warlock Slavlan Hansj is introduced. Tostig and Manik ask the warlock for his advice. The warlock divinates and shows them where the army is heading. Forth reminds Gwalsor that his people don't know him yet. So, yeah, he still has to get to know his people better so they can begin to trust him, and the relationship can form there too. Brennan is overprotective of her son, and that is a running theme throughout the book. It's just the way it is. Felda, the washmaid, tells how it is in the barony now, which is kind of fun because it reminds me, it's very Shakespearean in nature because it's about people just sitting there commenting on the story within the story, which I appreciate it. uh, Haywin, Markian's sister, is introduced as an alternative love interest. She invites herself to the midsummer feast. So, yeah, see, there we go. This is ditto. Saltern dies. Gwalsor says goodbye to his childhood mentor, um, reflects on Jadal, and confronts Brennan. Melga reports back to Gwalsor. Borith begins to console Gwalsor. Jadal learns about how Gwalsor's disability affects him. Uh, Tostig and Manig and Hans are introduced. We see their reliance on the warlock. Brennan shows her protectiveness and her need to hold people close to her for fear of losing them. And Markian begins politicking. Haywin is introduced, the conniving love rival. She needs to be played up a bit more, but yes, that definitely happens. Chapter 7. Make sure the meeting between Wardick and Gwalsor is electric. Needs oomph. I agree with that. Peace talks are offered by Wardick, and Gwalsor accepts to talk about it. Boraith warns Gwalsor about trusting Wardick. The messenger says Wardick claims the boundary of Gwilla's Hole above the boundaries of Gwilla's Hole have changed. Gwalsor's answer is the catalyst for what happens next. Tostig and Manig begin to see Hans's experiments. Wooden golem, and the bandits are warned off its dangers, including what should happen if they attempt to attack Hansage. Manik warns Tostig about the wizard turning on them. So yeah, like there's the wizard. This wizard is doing all these experiments, and then they finally see this wooden golem. Now they mean, and when I say golem, it's like golem the way the Jewish golem is, where a piece of paper is placed in its mouth and um it's magically given life. Um so yeah, and it the whole thing is kind of creepy, which I like because it gives a kind of a creep factor to the story. Um I'm saying a lot of ums. I'm sorry, guys. A wizard, Valwant, is murdered, and red robes are thought to have done it. Now, red robes are talking about the wizard. Sorry, not the wizard. Hmm. the priest the priests, that don't believe in don't believe in divination, well, and believe that divination is an affront to their god. So no one should ever do it, because then they're trying to be like their god, which is not okay. um dun, 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 dun. Yeah, Wardick is murdered, or sorry, mm, Valwant is murdered. Then Wardick approaches the city, claiming peace. Wardick states his displeasure at the attack and calls it unwarranted. Lines are drawn, and they can't agree on a compromise. Gwelser offers hospitality, which speaks to his character, which offers his hospitality. So he's like, yeah, you may stay until and rest until you have to leave, because that is the right hospitality. It's a very, very, very old custom, like very, very old, where you have to offer out certain just sort of like almost necessities of life kind of thing. And it doesn't even matter if you're in. It's kind of like the a very ancient version of the Geneva the Geneva Convention. Oh my goodness, brain. Hello. So yeah, that's kind of what that's like. And so you offer out something in their hospitality, and if you don't offer out your hospitality, your life can be considered forfeit. It's a very big, a lot of heavy on the politics. There's a whole entire bunch of the rules regard all surrounding hospitality, like even damaging people's property while you're in their home. It's so like all these different things could be like considered penalties of death sort of situations. So for Wardick to refuse hospitality is like saying, "No, I wish you death," kind of thing. I'd rather you die. It's right up there. Like it's you don't refuse hospitality. Refusing hospitality is a big no. So it's not just saying, "Oh well, he didn't want to stay. He didn't want to have a summer party with me. Therefore, no. It's bigger than that." I'll have to look that up and kind of go into the background on that. But yeah, it's pretty huge. Um, Wardick and Gwalsor's disagreement is unfortunate because they could have been good friends, and that's ruminated in there too. Because like, even though it's not really well described, and I think that's part of another problem. I'm gonna write that down. Um, Sorry, I just had to write down because that's like another opportunity for more uh, writing within, more talking within the story, because they definitely need to like have a little more development, because it doesn't go in as much as it should have about how, why would they be good friends. It just says they would have been good friends if they hadn't just landed on the wrong side. They're told this, and it does not it's not inferred, and it's not shown in any way, which is kind of frustrating. um let's see here. Barlandar Tavasor, Baron of Wardick, states why he is aggrieved and refused to. Nope. Barlandar Tavasor, I have no idea who that is. It just has the name there with nothing beside it. Great. Baron of Wardick states why he is aggrieved or refuses to back down. Uh, Wellsor states why he won't back down, and that Wardick is actively intruding on his barony. 4/8 counsels Gwalsor. Tallstag is hesitant to believe that the wizard Hansage is going to take over their gang. Manic doesn't trust the wizard. However, Manic doesn't trust the wizard at all. Pardon me. Hansich begins to assert his power subtly. And so it's you're kind of seeing Hansich's rise to power. Like he's kind of, oh, well, no, we should do this. And also, you need to leave me alone while I do that because I can't be bothered, that sort of thing. Um, Malgathef continues to do detective work for Gwalsor, while still playing the role that people believe he is a noble warrior. People play into that stereotype, and they don't really think he's very smart. He he comes off as very he is aloof, but it comes off as him being not as intelligent. And so oh yeah, you can talk in front of him. He's an idiot, doesn't matter. Whereas instead, he's actually gathering information, going, "You guys are all idiots because just because I'm from a different country doesn't mean I don't understand what you're saying." But he uses that to his advantage. Summer feast approaches. There is a worry of overspending and then not being able to afford the to man the oncoming battle. Gwalsor wants to raise the barony's morale, so that's his main reason why he's going to push ahead with this. Markian and his sister Haywin arrive at the barony for the feast. Haywin begins to make her moves. They they went on a hunt for food for the feast. Gloucester notes Haywin's advances. Malga warns him as well. Maybe not the best thing to do. Ralno brings word that the king is possibly sending money to fund the feast. Gloucester uses this as an excuse to invite far more people than are likely to come so he can divert funds to the army. No matter what is sent, Gloucester can use this to his advantage and advertise that he's got the king's support. This also causes Gloucester to ruminate about why the king is so willing to support him, and he tries to forget about the crossbow incident. Gloucester finds out how sorry his army is, and apparently it's like a motley crew, and there's barely any people who have much training, so that's a problem. Jadal gets injured, and a healer is summoned, and the stones of ascertainment are introduced. The healer uh, snarks off at Gwalsor, and he makes a joke about stringing him up. Gwalsor takes Jadal to his mother, Brennan, who is really angry. That's just to say it mildly, because you think about protective parent, and then all of a sudden, kid gets injured, and on top of it all, given that he is the only true heir for this barony, so him getting injured can kind of look like, oh, well, he got injured. So she's really angry. Like, oh boy, Mama Bear, full on. Da, da, da. Yeah. Yeah, especially because he went to get Jadal help and got sidetracked and didn't go to her right away. So she finds out much later. She's angry. Not a good scene. Um, it was just kids joyriding on horses, nothing serious, but that's what happened. Both Markians and Gwalsar's boys, making it awkward. Punishment is sought. Everyone is worried about the safety of the horses because they need those horses. Horses are a very valuable commodity. So you can't just simply a horse gets injured, they have to be put down. You're now down some travel basically. So it's a big deal. Um, the king's payment finally arrives, showing his indebtedness to Gwalsor. Gwalsor and Malga are vindicated. Gwalsor asks that everyone make sure that this is from the king, to prove that his support of Gwalsor. So everyone's kind of like he makes a big show of it, and he has to make a big show of it in order to explain, "Hey guys, look, man's got my back here." um, More invitations are sent out. Uh, Manic reflects to Taz. Nope. Manic tells Taz about the king's gift to the Baron. Taz realizes why this is important. Taz starts talking about building a fort. Now, this is where you see a shift in the bandits because the bandits are like originally just a group of bandits, and now they're talking about building a fort when they're usually nomadic and traveling around. And so now so Taz is like, hey, this is kind of weird. We're beginning to put down roots, and this is not really us. We're not the roots putting down kind of people. We are traveling people. We travel from place to place, um, and we we rob people that way. We are not. We're going to become the people that we detest in the first place, and it gets even worse. It's like so chapter 8. Paz wants to kidnap local villagers, and force them into slavery to build his fort. Man complains about Toss's change of plans. Toss says they should tell the wizard their plans, another sign of the slow change in leadership. So Toss is like, yeah, we need to tell the wizard about this. But it's like, why? He's not your boss. He's just this guy that's been helping you. And now there's like this slow change in in who is the authority here. And everyone's commenting on how they do not like the wooden man. They feel very uncomfortable and, yeah, kind of creeped out about it. Okay. Chapter 9. So this is apparently shorter than it should be. Oh, there you go. But for that, Manic is a witness of the changes in the balance of power and changes in Tostig as he remains himself. Henge begins to further his power over the bandits. 2 knights of the king are witness to Gwalsor's running of the barony. Chapter 9. Midsummer Feast arrives. Haywin follows Gwalsor like a lost puppy, and Malga is on edge. Judal gets the day off for the feast and to recover. People are still stiff with Gwalsor. Foraith noticed that Gwalsor is nervous around crossbows and hopes nobody notices that. So that's when Foraith kind of finally clues in that, hey, he's uneasy around crossbows. That's not gonna be that's kind of weakness, and we don't want to have the Baron showing weakness. Um, there's descriptions of the feast. Commoners choose Gwalsor and Brennan to lead the midsummer dance. Ah, they dance. The festivities go on and on. Well, yeah, and that's there's a whole entire section here where it needs to be like, for example, they don't really talk about the commoners choosing Gwalsor and Brennan, and there's not as much conflict as there should be between in the potential love triangle of Gwalsor, Brennan, and Haywin. Like, there needs to be more of it. It's kind of frustrating. Um, but again, that's one of the things that needs to be dealt with more. Excuse me. Okay. Festivities going on. Haywin is mildly disappointed. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. She is mildly disappointed. Come on. She's not more than a little mildly disappointed. She is angry. I'm gonna say that. Like, it says in the story, in the original story, that she's mildly disappointed. I'm like, no. No, a person like Haywin is she's sneaking, she's conniving, and therefore if she doesn't get her way, like this is a woman who gets her way, and if she doesn't get her way, well, oh boy. That was the impression I got. That's what I'm gonna be bringing into the story here, because let me tell you, mm, mm, no. Part of this chapter folds back on itself. I don't know what that means. That's okay. Uh, Wellstar is courted by 4 different women. Is that not including Haywin and Brennan? So 6? Or are you talking about Brennan, Haywin, and 2 other random chicks? I don't know, because it's just a sentence saying that he was courted by 4 women that night or something. It's something like that, and that's literally all it says, which is, nope, I need a description for this. Like, this needs to actually be out there. So I'm gonna be going over these notes tonight to like go to write down the scenes based on these. Guelsor ends up alone, although he and Melga realize there's someone he'd rather be with. The day after the midsummer feast, Guelsor asks Adikda about building a prosthetic for him, because gnomes are also tinker gnomes. They're really good with building gadgets and stuff. So that is the gadget that Guelsor would like. The healer of Jadal gets attacked by a mob, and Guelsor learns that the priest is behind it, because healing is too much like pardon me. Healing is too much like divination, therefore it's an affront to the gods, therefore he must die. They capture the priest and question him. He admits to starting a riot and refuses to back down, as he feels that he is above judgment. The priest is arrested. Wellsor discovers his feelings for Brennan. Brennan dances with Wellsor, but what is she feeling? Haywin is glossed over, but should be confrontational and in Wellsor's face. Again, yeah. And what's her motivation? She wants power. She needs to get power, and I think she'd fight a little bit more for that. Jadal has a day after the feast. Malaga guides Gwalsor, but he does some more. He needs to move more on his own. Fourth also guards Gwalsor, but he has more of a struggle with his power of confrontation. Priest turns out to riot and is arrested. Catalyst. Saldar the healer is rescued. In chapter 10, the priest is charged with causing a riot and attempted murder. The chief priest is up in arms because Gwalsor is handing out punishment instead of the church, therefore overstepping his bounds, while Gwalsor needs to know what the punishment is, and that is fair. And that is all I have written down for my notes. And that's pretty much, so basically that's it. I think, I can't remember if chapter 10 is where he ends up getting lashed or not. Let me take a look. They end up carrying out punishment on the priest. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry. Yeah. Priest alone has power to punish me. Da, da, da. Yeah, they sentenced him to 30 lashes. Yeah, and during the course of after the as the punishment is being dealt out, once they remove the priests all gather around him, gather around this other priest that was being lashed, and there's such a ceremony to it that it's shown that he's really a martyr among them and not really this isn't seen as a punishment, this is seen as martyrdom, which is not good at all. And then also at this time, this is when Gwalsor finds out about the peasants who've been taken. Um, Lord Cardell's force was nigh destroyed. Lord Cardell was slain, and they all moved. Like these are this is the 2 weeks ago. The bandits came out of Lessermoor and took away 30 peasants. The night holder, Cardell Dar Isternal, took a force of 25 men into Lesmore to recover the peasants. 3 days ago, 7 men came back from that mission. The bandits had laid traps and ambushes all along the route, and before they'd reached the lair of the bandits, Lord Cardell's force was well nigh destroyed. Lord Cardell himself was slain, and those who remained decided to turn back. So, yeah, things are getting really, 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 really dire, and it sounded like Gwalsor's hand is going to be forced here. So, uh, so 4/8 gives a little bit of information about the background on Lessamore and what like basically the landscape, the whole entire rundown. And they um do do do. I think I'm actually going to finish up reading this tomorrow night, just so I can kind of go over it with everybody tomorrow night. I'm gonna do more chapters tomorrow. I'm gonna see how many I have left after tonight, and I will get back to you guys, and we'll go over. I'll go over multiple chapters. I'll let you know how many chapters I'm going to be reading tomorrow. But it's going to be. I'm going to try and evenly distribute it throughout the whole entire week, so that by the end of Friday, I'm wrapping up the story, and then I'll by the end of the week I'll have everything, all the scenes I want to write out, like all the scenes I want to write out listed. So that is my goal for this week, and then from there I might actually do some scene readings next week. We'll see, but I'll probably be doing more process on the story as I go through it, so I can talk my way through it and think about what I'm going to be doing before I do it. Because, for example, tonight, um, once I wrap this up, which is going to be in a couple of minutes here, like literally within like 1 to 2 minutes, I'm going to be going over my notes and writing down all the scenes I don't already have written down. And then, like, this is why I really needed to get back to the stream, so I can finish reading the story and writing down more scenes that need to get done. And then from there, once I write a scene, I'll probably talk it out and let people know where it fits into the story and that sort of thing. So you'll kind of get a chance to listen as I develop the story, which I'll be speaking it out and then writing it all down. So I think that's pretty much it for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Iron Man 52. Thank you so much for stopping by. I don't know if you're still there, but if you are, thank you kindly. Um, and yeah, I'll talk to you all again tomorrow night. Have a good night, guys. Hmm.